Hello everybody, welcome back to the World AI Only Deathmatch series. This is part 17. Welcome back. In the last episode, Kilwa has been basically destroyed. I mean, they still have 3 or 4 different cities. In the next turn, however, 2 of them will be lost to Persia. In fact, their capital in the last episode, Kilwa Kiswani, has been annexed by Persia. If you take a look at the world map, Persia controls almost everything. In other news, France is making an offensive against the last English holdout city of, well, I'm just making sure that that is indeed the last city of England. It's Ribe over here in modern-day St. Petersburg or Leningrad or Petrograd, however you want to refer to that. So really, this episode is going to be all about Persian hegemony and how far Persia will go in an attempt to control absolutely everything on the world map. As you can see, we're going to go around the world really fast. For those of you who are new, who have missed a few episodes, these are the facts on the ground. We do see a more militant Korea setting up some military forces on their border with Persia over here in Siberia. But take a look at this. I mean, Persia, just right in this one theater over here, they've got 2 settlers settling in God knows where over here in the middle of frickin' nowhere out here in the stone tundra. There's really nothing that they can get here except for oil and, I don't know, Eskimos, I guess. If that's a strategic resource, I don't think it is. So let's go to the east, where in South America, the Shoshone and the Venezuelans are at war once again. North and South America are at odds. And this is interesting for a few reasons, because Persia has recently declared war on Venezuela as well, which means that we might see Venezuela being tag-teamed by both the Shoshone and Persia. In fact, Persia might take one of these coastal cities in this episode and then use that as a springboard for further offensive action against the American continent. If you were to ask me if I was to continue this series until the very end, I believe there's probably only about 5 or 6 more episodes left until Persia destroys absolutely everybody. But don't take my word for it. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at, well, not that, we don't want that. Let's take a look at the, I guess it's over here, right? Let's see, culture overview, no. It's a demographic, or there we go, diplomatic overview. I know I'm going to get that mod that you guys are telling me about in the next series, the Game of Thrones or Fallout observer match, and I'm going to do a straw poll, actually, at the very end, the final episode here. I know a few of you guys want the Game of Thrones, and a few of you guys want the game, the Fallout spectator match. So we're going to do a straw poll, as we always do with democracy. In fact, I will get around to doing both of them. It's just, you know, whether or not what is picked first is the most popular. So going here, England and Persia are at war with Kilwa. France is at war with England. Persia is at war with Venezuela and Kilwa. England, again, nothing new here. Denmark is a rump state. Shoshone are at war with Venezuela, and Korea is at war with the Soviet Union. So that's basically it. I mean, America, of course, is at war with Venezuela as well, but I mean, take a look at America. There's still, nothing really is changing over here in Philadelphia. It's always snowy in Philadelphia in this game. So let's go ahead and continue right where we left off. I'm going to get right to it. I know I talk quite a bit, but let's go ahead and get a few turns done, just so we can see how this situation develops here in Africa. Of course, I'm going to keep my camera over most of Central and Southern Africa. This is a bit weird. Okay, here we go. It was lagging a little bit. So Persia's actually made peace with Kilwa. Surprisingly, actually. I was a little bit surprised myself to see this happen. Let's go ahead and see. Right, so they took the 2 remaining Madagascar and Southern African cities from Kilwa. In fact, Kilwa only has the former Carthaginian, or rather Phoenician colony of Utik. So they're basically destroyed. Well, I say that. I think they also have the city over here. Oh no, Persia's taken it over here outside of America. So we'll probably see some new events over there. In fact, Persia already has a city in North America, if you consider that Alaskan holding to be part of the continent, which I certainly do. So let's see how Venezuela reacts to being at war with the largest land and sea empire in the game. Remains to be seen whether or not what happens between these two. I think it's safe to say, however, that Persia is going to steamroll Toulouse, Oran, and Ciudad Bolivar. I think, you know, that's almost like a French twang at the end of that. I have no idea how to pronounce Spanish and, you know, Hispanophone country names, so I apologize. Let's go over here in South America, where We see some action outside of Buenos. The Venezuelans have recaptured the city over here, of course, in modern-day Dominican Republic, or the Leeward Islands, or the Antilles, is I think how you say it in English. And Baku, actually, is under attack this turn. Let's go ahead and end our turn over here in the American theater, as this is the only really, I guess, interesting war zone going on until, Persia sends in all their men into Africa and takes the rest of their holdings. I think they probably have a few turns of respite, maybe like 2 or 3, before all of the Venezuelan African holdings are destroyed and burnt to the ground, or perhaps just, occupied, as cities cannot be burned to the ground in this particular Let's Play series, or rather spectator series. So Persia taking a little while over here. Let's go and see what's going on over here. Since they are taking quite a while, they've taken Oran in 1 turn. Toulouse is next. Unfortunately for the Venezuelans. So going over here into the South American / Mesoamerican theater. Of course, the Caribbean is also included in here. I believe the Shoshone are going to lose Baku this turn once the Venezuelans move their men. The Shoshone have recaptured the Caribbean city of Baranas, somewhat, I guess, expectedly. And they've taken Baku. So Ecuador is in the hands of Venezuela. What was once Soviet was then Shoshone and is now Venezuelan. So we've got quite a bit of changing hands here. Let's go over to Greenland, where Santa Teresa de Toy is under attack from... We see some Shoshone naval action going on outside of Greenland. And over here, I almost forgot about Ribe. The French are still mounting an attack on the final holdout region of England. It remains to be seen whether or not they can defend against the French invaders. The Army of the Rhine is indeed on the move, but there's no Napoleon in this particular series, as Persia is just dominating. So let's go ahead and end our turn outside of Venezuelan Africa, which is soon to be, I suppose, Persian Africa here in a minute. And as soon as they take Toulouse, we are going to move in on the Western Theater in the American, I guess, side of the world. We're waiting for Persia. Of course, the Persian turn takes forever. They have so many units that they need to move, so they take up almost all the time. Now, going back over here to the American Theater, let's go ahead and see what's going to happen this turn. The Shoshone, again, have taken Baranas for themselves. The battle for the Caribbean is still in full swing. In fact, the Shoshone are only a few tiles away from the Venezuelan capital of Caracas. We're starting to see some offensive Shoshone action against Pitar. Shoshone may or may not be able to wipe out Venezuela. I'm a bit surprised, to be quite honest with you. I had always assumed that Venezuela was the stronger of the two American superpowers. But it turns out my predictions are not always correct. I guess that's a bit obvious. But take a look at this. I mean, Shoshone have helicopter gunships. They've got missile cruisers, battleships. They've got infantry. And when you really go down here, the Venezuelans, they just don't have this much stuff. I mean, their air force is only 3 or 4 strong. We do see some Venezuelan naval action off the coast of modern-day Chile. And really, it seems to me that next turn, we're going to see some inroads into Pitar. Maybe even the Shoshone might take over the city of Pitar using their submarine. Let's go over here to St. Petersburg, where the French are poised to take out and eliminate England from the game. Let's go ahead and end our turn over here, outside of Toulouse and Ciudad Bolivar. Or actually over here outside of France. France, of course, isn't able to take St. Petersburg, it seems. Unless if it's a little bit laggy, which, it sometimes is. Yes, so Ribe has been taken by the French. The English are wiped out of the game. They have no more cities. Let's take a look to see how far Persia will push into Venezuelan Africa. Of course, Venezuelan colonies over here in Africa were very short-lived. Next turn, Persia should push into Ciudad Bolivar itself, which is a bit scary. Now, going outside over here in the American continent, where a lot of action outside of Dominican Republic. We've got some privateers, we've got some destroyers, we've got all sorts of disgusting and, really intense, I guess, machines of war over here. Let's see what Venezuela does to push back into Shoshone. They were almost able to recapture the city of Baranas. They were not able to do so, however, they were unsuccessful. But take a look over here. Just outside of the former independent state of Texas, we are seeing a massive naval buildup in the Gulf of Mexico, outside of, I guess, the Wasaki, which is modern-day Louisiana, of course, over here in New Orleans, basically. I'm just kind of looking around over here in the Shoshone Empire. They're a bit stretched thin in terms of military units. They're committing all of their military units onto the south of their border over here in Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, Florida looks like, you know, like a retarded 12-year-old made this particular part of the map. Doesn't look very good. So France has made peace with England. Of course, England has been reduced to 2 archaeologists and an immigrant worker, much like Vietnam previously. I'm sure that the Vietnamese worker is still toiling away over here in some foreign country. I have no idea which one, but god damn, look how big this Persian Empire is. I mean, it's sprawling. Like, this is so huge. Even though Persepolis was nuked, actually. So we still see some fallout, actually, over here on the mountains outside of Persepolis. It's a bit interesting. And really, Persian Russia is still very much in ruin. We will see if the Soviet Union is able to make any effort into taking back their territory. Perhaps in the future they will. We do still see some German riflemen and German cannons over here in Siberia. And take a look at this. We, once again, see Persia expanding over here, this time in northern Siberia. Very scary, I should say. And Korea, what is Korea doing over here? I wonder what we are going to see from the future of Korea. Of course, with the naval buildup like this in the South Indian Ocean, I would not want to declare war on Persia, as they would absolutely decimate anybody that declares war on them. But I mean, look at this. Persia is so happy that they can literally just set up cities on these little, like, useless islands. This island over here only has fish. There's not even a strategic resource. It's a bit ridiculous that the AI does things like this. But again, Australia fully in the hands of the Persians. I'm actually surprised that we don't see any Persian colonies over here, kind of like in modern-day Hawaii and Easter Island. So let's go ahead and continue immediately where we left off. This time in the soon-to-be Persian West Africa. Of course, Venezuela had a good run over here. They had, like 3 or 4 colonies, but nothing lasts forever. And this is nothing is more true than this. And if you are an enemy of the Persian Empire, Xerxes will be out to get you. He will enslave you. He will give you 2 options: land or what was it? Water. I haven't seen the movie 300 in forever. Excuse me if I misspoken. I think that's how it's set up. So, Ciudad Bolivar has fallen to the Persians. Persia controls pretty much all of the African continent now. Let's go over here to America, where the battle for, again, the Dominican Republic is in full swing. I have no idea why you'd want to fight for the Dominican Republic. There's no strategic resources over here. There's just a trading post. A bit strange. And where's Haiti? I don't even... See, this map is just so weird. Is this Haiti over here, where these anti-aircraft guns are? Because it's really tiny. Nothing really is to scale in this particular rendition of the world. And now that... Well, let's go and see on Greenland. Greenland is about to fall to the Shoshone. Now that Africa is pretty much firmly in the grasp of Persia, we're going to start to see perhaps some Persian naval units being sent around the Southern Cape and into South America proper. In fact, we might already even see some Persian naval units crossing the Pacific on their way east, like these guys over here. They've only got 1 nuclear missile, though, so it remains to be seen whether or not they can really do much in that particular area. We do still see some Korean turtle ships turtling pretty heavily down there. And besides that, everything else is pretty much status quo. Excuse me. So let's go back down to Africa, where next turn we should see the city of Sumana being taken over by the Persians. Persian is bum rushing this island. Really, there's nothing of note on this island besides the fact that it has pearls. Never knew that somebody would want to go so far for pearls, but Persia is known for their excess. And if you look at the world map real quick, really all of the Eurasian continent, including Africa, is split between Korea, Persia, France, and a very small amount by the Shoshone. But the Shoshone really are a non-player. They just control key ports in Scandinavia and Scotland. Really nothing too major over there. We will see, however, maybe perhaps a Venezuelan reconquest of Baranas this turn, if they're lucky. Now they weren't able to do anything. So really just status quo going on over here in America. I'm going to keep ending the turns. That way we can pass the time a little bit faster. As I know that sometimes I'm prone to ramble on and on about useless things. So over here outside of Venezuela, or rather outside of Cumana, the city of Cumana is about to fall to Persia. Should happen pretty soon. In this turn, more than likely. Let's see what the Persians are doing here. They've recaptured the city, and they are starting to send more of their navy down to the southwest, which is interesting. Let's go over here to Greenland, where the Shoshone are still fighting for Santa Teresa del Toy. Unsuccessfully, I might add. Oh, well, I spoke too soon. They've taken the city, but I'm pretty sure Venezuela will be able to retake it back with their infantry, or at least they tried to. Going down here, we are starting to see a Shoshone offensive into South America. And look at this. These Koreans are trading with the enemy. Despite the fact that they are allied with Persia, they are trading with Venezuela. This is going to incur a diplomatic penalty, perhaps with Persia, who might backstab their old ally. We will see if this happens in the future. There's a Danish caravel over there. That's a bit strange. And what else we got going on over here? Siberia is much the same as it always was. We're still seeing more and more settlers from Persia. Makes me see whether or not they colonize anything of importance. Perhaps they might decide to colonize over here in Anatolia. I know that all of the Anatolian tiles are Persian, but there's no city over here to work these tiles. It's a bit of a shame, really. The Ottomans were in this game. So let's go back into the American continent, where we are about to see some more violence between the two American regional powers, and a interloper who is about to invade perhaps northeastern Brazil, of course in the firm control of Venezuela. Let's see what happens. And it almost seems like the Persians are cheating, because this battleship I'm pretty sure they just purchased last turn. I have no idea how, considering they've puppeted these cities. But, you know, then again, for Axis games, the AI cheats pretty hard, I should say. I just want to double check the difficulty, as it's a king. Okay, so the AI is not going to cheat too much, like they would, for instance, if it was on Deity, but King AI the AI in King still does receive bonuses, just not very major. In fact, any mediocre player of Civilization can win the game in King. It's very easy, only marginally more difficult than Prince, which itself is easy mode. So, outside of Caracas, the actual Venezuelan capital is under siege and under attack, and it's also blockaded. So, Greenland. Right, so the Shoshone battleships have reduced the Venezuelan infantry to pretty much nothing. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the happiness of everybody involved. Shoshone at a happiness of 1, which is very low. And in fact, Persia has lost quite a bit of happiness, somewhat surprisingly. And if all victories were turned on, Persia would probably have already won a cultural victory, or rather a tourism victory, as they are influential in 11 out of the 12 players. I think that they are only not influential with me because, again, I am just a nuclear submarine. So let's go ahead and continue where we left off over here in America. And again, we do see a massive military buildup over here outside of Camutica in modern-day Havana, Cuba, off the coast, of course, of Florida. And in modern-day events, somewhat interestingly enough, the relations between the United States and Cuba have somewhat thawed, meaning that I believe it is now possible for United States citizens to visit Cuba directly from U.S. airspace and vice versa. Families are now, again, able to reunite after, 40 or 50 years of American embargo on the island. We're going to probably start seeing the development of American cars, an American industry in the island that was once closed off from all American trade. In fact, the most iconic, I guess, image of Cuba in the American popular imagination are those really old, beat-up, well, not really beat-up, but very used American muscle cars and old-timey cars from the 40s and 50s before the embargo. The Cubans have been lovingly taking care of these cars. There's a Spanish word for it. I don't know what it is. But if you guys want to look it up, type in Cuban-American cars. It's really interesting. It's almost like you step back into time. And this I guess, image of Cuba will definitely change here in the future now that American exports are going to be sent over to Cuba, and vice versa. We're probably going to see some Cuban imports in the United States as well. Of course, I wouldn't know since I'm an expatriate. I'm living outside of my country right now, so I'll have to ask my friends. But, again, I would love to visit Cuba, a very beautiful island. Of course, it is under, I believe, the control of Raul. God, what's his last name? Raul Castro, there it is. His father, Fidel Castro, had control of the island for pretty much throughout its entire socialist and communist period. Of course, after helping Che Guevara, Guevara's, like I said, I can't pronounce these names, taking control of the island with their communist guerrillas back a long-ass time ago. I don't really know too much about South American history, so I do apologize. I'm not quite knowledgeable in this field, but I do know that they had boarded this very small ship called, I believe, the Grandma. It was like a really tiny yacht that was designed for like 20 people. They fit like 150 communist guerrillas on it and crossed over from the Caribbean. I believe they launched from Mexico, and then they launched on the mountains of southeast Cuba, and they were able to fit like 100-something guerrillas loaded with weapons onto this tiny-ass ship. There's an image of it online. It's really funny. It's amazing, in fact, that it was seaworthy to begin with. It was so over the limit of weight that it basically should have just, sank in the middle of the Caribbean, but it didn't. And if it had, I suppose the history of Cuba, and in fact, the modern day entire region, the Caribbean region, would be very, very different. So, interesting enough. Interesting fact for you guys today. Again, the Shoshone have taken yet another territory here in South America. And South America now has a foothold in which to attack Venezuela. Let's go ahead and take a look off of the coast of Africa. We see a massive naval buildup outside of the former French colony of Oran. Oran, I believe is how you say it. Of course, Oran is in modern-day Algeria. It's one of the largest cities. It's a port city. It was, I believe, founded and colonized by the French colonists known as the Pieds Noirs, which means black feet, literally. I'm not sure if there's like any racist connotation to this word, but it's essentially it referred to the French colonists who set up shop in colonial Africa and decided to live there. Again, I'm not sure if there are any racial connotations to it. Of course, Algeria and the rest of French Africa declared independence shortly after World War II, much like the rest of the world in the post-colonial period. Of course, the English Empire as well broke up shortly after World War II. Once nationalism kind of crept into the popular imagination of the colonial governments, people started clamoring for self-determination and irredentism, meaning if they wanted to be ruled by, their own, I guess, set of ethnic populace, like French for France, Algerians for Algeria. People wanted to be in control of their own destiny. So this is why the vast majority of the European colonies declared independence. In fact, to this day, you can find some kind of like remnants of colonial Europe throughout the world. For example, I'll give you like perhaps a more controversial example is that England has a little island off of the coast of Argentina over here in the middle of the Atlantic. The Argentinians refer to it as, I believe, Los Malvinas. Of course, for the English, it is the Falkland Islands. They had a war over it in, I believe, the 70s or the 80s. Argentina, to this day, still claims that it's their island. I have no idea how authentic their claim is, but of course, England has their own citizens on this island. The island inhabitants are, of course, British. But that's not the only, I guess, remnant of colonialism that you can find throughout the world. In fact, in modern-day South America, there is a French colony right where my cursor is. Oh, you can't see my cursor. I forgot because I'm using shadow play. I need to fix that, really. But northwest of Barquisimeto and southeast of Caracas, there is a not a sovereign country because it's under the control of France. It is called Guyane, and I guess in English it would be known as Guyana or French Guiana. And it is known in French as a DOM, a département d'outre-mer, like a overseas department, basically. And there are many of them, actually. France controls the island of Réunion, which is over here off of the coast of Madagascar. They control a few islands over here outside of New Zealand as well. And in the Caribbean, you know, England controls some of these islands, like they control Bermuda. England controls the Virgin Islands. I think those are actually split between the U.S. and England. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is that colonialism, although it pretty much died out, there are still, I guess, little tiny islands that are in the control of European nations. Perhaps one of the biggest of these examples is Denmark, which actually reigns over the entirety of Greenland. Although, you know, Greenland, the population of like 20, 30,000, not a lot of people, but it's a massive landmass. And what is not commonly known about Greenland is that, in fact, underneath the large ice sheets in central Greenland, like what you see right here, this snow that Civilization refers to it as is in fact ice. Underneath, you know, I guess a few hundred feet, a few thousand feet, or a few hundred meters for all of you Europeans, there in fact lies 3 separate islands, which are very, very big islands, but this is not one gigantic landmass, which is commonly believed. I had read in some scientific article a few years ago that once global warming, or whatever you want to refer to the warming period in our world is referred to as, once that kind of melts the entire ice sheet of Greenland, it's going to reveal 3 separate islands. That's pretty cool, actually, if you think about it. So again, France has declared war on Ali ibn al-Hassan, or Kilwa, I should say. We will see if France wants to take back some colonies over here in Africa. But let's be honest, let's zoom in on over here. Would you, if you were, let's say, Charles de Gaulle, you know, the leader of France, would you really want to have a colony surrounded by Persia? Such an aggressive neighbor. Really, would you want to? That's not a very good idea, honestly. But, you know, the French, they're going to do what they want to do. They are, of course, French. They're going to smoke cigarettes and eat baguettes all the way to Africa, even if it means that only 2 or 3 months after taking the colony, Persia declares war on them and wipes them off of the face of Europe. But hey, you know what? They'll do what they want to do. No judgment. So, again, England has been wiped out in this episode. A very good episode for you guys today. Let's go ahead and end the turn and see just how far the Shoshone will delve into South America. Maybe, just maybe, the Shoshone might have a stranglehold on South America. They might even prevent Persia from making a colonial gain into South America. But at this point, it looks unlikely. I mean, again, looking off the coast of Africa, look at this huge fleet. I know for a fact that some of these carriers are going to have missiles and maybe nuclear bombs. Yeah, see, atomic bomb, carriers and fighters. Pretty insane. I'm a little bit afraid for Venezuela, but it is what it is. And it's a bit interesting, actually, because the Persian ships, instead of heading due west, are heading kind of northwest, which means they might actually be heading towards Europe, which is a bit scary, I suppose, for France. France is definitely not ready for nuclear warfare. In fact, they've only just recently gone into the atomic era themselves, so they're not ready to attack Persia, or rather defend against Persia. We will see how that goes. Of course, the Venezuelan capital of Caracas is surrounded by the Shoshone. Pretty scary for the Venezuelans. We will see if they are able to withstand a, I guess, offensive between, Persia and their northern enemy. Yeah, so Persia is not really doing too much, actually. They're just kind of consulting their navy. They're not making any moves. Let's see what the Shoshone do this turn. No nukes have been dropped so far, which is a bit surprising. Perhaps both of the superpowers are not really ready to commit to mutually assured destruction. Although in this case, I would be under the impression that instead of mutually assured destruction, it would be Venezuelan assured destruction, because Shoshone have a much larger military capacity, a much larger military industrial complex, and in fact a more modernized country in which to deal out their damage. A golden age has dawned for Rome over here in Mount Olympus. Fantastic. We're going to do one more turn before we end the episode. So let's go ahead and see what else happens. We are almost at the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to go over the demographics and everything like I always do. Again, I'm going to go up until, I believe, episode 20. And At that point in time, I'm going to ask you, the viewer, if you guys want me to continue this series, or if we should just go ahead and start a new one. To me, it seems relatively obvious that Persia is going to win if this was to, draw out for another 10 episodes. But again, I want to do what's in the best interest of my viewers. If you guys want me to continue this series, fine. If you don't, also totally fine. And in fact, there's a third alternative, or a third option, I should say, where I could basically set this computer on overnight, to auto end turns, wake up in the morning, and kind of do like a quick 5-minute video showing you what the world looks like, and turn like 9,000, like after all the dust settles, and quite possibly Persia controls the world. And maybe not, maybe Persia will suffer a massive rebellion, massive revolution and all that, but take a look at this. At the end of the episode, we are seeing a massive French invasion across Persia into Utique. In fact, they're not invading Persia, they're just kind of walking across their land, again, leaving a wake of cigarettes and baguettes in their path. And Persian Navy is again ready to strike into South America. We are seeing a French destroyer off the coast of Venezuela, which is a bit strange considering this French destroyer is going to get destroyed in itself. A bit ironic, I guess you could say. So let's go over the demographics. I know that you guys know that Persia is going to be the lead of everything. Really, there's no competition anymore. They're ahead of literally everything. They only have a 1% illiterate population. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and go off of that. Score-wise, Darius is just way ahead of everybody else. The Shoshone are second only to Persia. The Shoshone might have a chance. I don't know. Probably not. Let's go see how much money Persia's making. Negative 1,460 per turn. That is scary. If this was real life or even Europa Universalis, if you're making that kind of money, your country is going to be plunged into darkness, into the dark ages. You can't afford your military, Darius. So fuck off. I know you're an AI, so you're going to cheat, but if I was playing Civilization right now with Darius and I was making bankruptcy, basically, all of these units would disband, I would get massive rebellions, but because they're an AI, they get the special, treatment, they get the special gloves, nothing happens to them because Firaxis can't make a very smart AI, so they instead opt to make it cheat, which is just incredibly annoying. Let's go now over to the culture overview and check out the overall happiness. Again, Persia's ahead. Venezuela is at the very bottom, but everybody's happy. Oh, well, everybody except for the Shoshone is happy, I should say. England, again, is facing a revolutionary wave, which is a bit of a misnomer, considering they don't have a fucking city. So, of course, they're going to have a revolutionary wave. That's totally understandable. America also facing a revolutionary wave, despite the fact that they have 37 happiness. They've opted for freedom. How cute is that? We've got a bastion of freedom over here, and the the Arctic wasteland of Alaska. Of course, Fairbanks isn't really much of a wasteland, but certainly to the north, over here, outside of the mountain of Mount McKinley, which was recently actually changed. I believe they changed the name of the mountain to Denali. I think President Obama went over there and decided to finally change the name of the mountain. Of course, the Alaskans have been referring to this mountain as Denali for quite a while now, but the mountain for a long time was known as Mount McKinley in honor of some Republican or Democrat from Ohio that nobody really cares about. Of course, the Ohioans are going to really, raise a shitstorm over the name change, which they are. But you know what? The mountain is in Alaska. The Alaskans should have a say in it. Denali sounds a bit better. Besides. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for the next one, where the Shoshone are going to inevitably push into Venezuela and maybe even call in their tag team buddies of Persia, where the gang rape of South America is almost assured, guys. Again, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you guys soon.